Welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, something that I've been into for a very long time. And one of those things is studying what ancient Earth was like before the flood of Noah, before humankind, because personally I do not believe that the Earth has been here for just 6,000 years, as many Christians have taught over the years. You know, people need to realize that if the Earth was only here for 6,000 years, and the flood of Noah happened 4,500 years ago, that only left 1,500 years for every other species that has been here that are now extinct. 99.9% of all species that we have found so far that lived here on this earth are extinct. But one of the things I want to share with you guys is that here in the United States, we are seeing things more and more that resemble what is all over the world. We talk about pyramids, ancient structures, and I believe that what has been found here is really a quarry. That's the way that I look at it, as they were building blocks, or maybe it was part of, something that was bigger at one point in time. I came across this video of this YouTuber who goes out and he looks up things on Google Earth. Then he goes to that place and he investigates it, right? In this video right here says, I discovered impossible geometry on Google Earth. Now, what he did is he followed the path on Google Earth of the Ring of Fire solar eclipse that happened on October the 14th of 2023. So he began to look at Google Earth and he took a look at this path and he found some really strange things here in the United States, actually I believe in Utah. And you can see here, there's these weird structures, and as you get closer and closer to some of these structures, it's really amazing what he is finding. And some of these blocks are impossible, right, as far as the geometry and how everything is set up there. And this is, I believe, something had to do with ancient Earth. And you can see this picture here, how big these blocks are. This is in Utah, folks. And people need to realize that whatever was going on Earth before mankind, before the dinosaurs, something massive was taking place. I don't believe that the Earth has only been here for 6,000 years. When we take a look at other megaliths, as you see here, this one here is in Lebanon, right? This massive stone. Right, you can go to even like Japan on the Unagani underwater megaliths. And these are massive stones, massive pyramids that it would have been impossible for mankind today to actually move these things. Right, so I believe that these stones are way older than 10,000 years, 20,000 years, or maybe even 100,000 years. I don't know what took place between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2, and people refer to that as the gap theory. And, I don't believe that the earth has been here for billions of years, but it's been here long enough that God had life, different forms of life, all the way up until he decided to create mankind. But going back to these blocks, it's just simply amazing that what this person has found, and I believe that what they are telling us is not the truth, and they don't want to investigate these things because they already know. And if things were here millions of years ago, you're not going to find traces of advanced technology because it's just going to wither away. Just like your house that you live in right now, after 10,000 years, it probably won't even be noticeable. I encourage you to watch the video. I'm going to put the link down below in the description, so you can watch the video for yourself. There's so much to be discovered. And, at this point in stage of the earth and how things are, this really doesn't affect salvation. This really doesn't affect, what you think the future holds. But you have to understand and have to know that, there were things that were happening on this earth well before human beings were created. Right? We're one story out of a big story. Right? Because The Bible doesn't give us every single detail about the fall of Lucifer and the fall of the angels. The Bible gives us very few clues or details about what the earth was like before mankind, and there are scriptures that do allude to when no man was upon the earth, right, and how things were back then. And you also have to keep in mind that Adam was in the garden and he was kicked out of the garden. So wherever the Garden of Eden was, it was a special place. There was a doorway that led to the Garden of Eden, and he was kicked out of that doorway. So whatever the animals that he named in the Garden of Eden were in the Garden of Eden. The animals that he named in the Garden of Eden didn't get kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So there was a pathway, there was a door that's guarded by an angel, right, according to what the Bible says, to guard the east gate, right, because mankind was not allowed back into the Garden of Eden. So what Adam named, what Adam saw, may have been different from what was actually out on the earth. And there's nothing in the Bible that describes all these flying creatures that would have ate human beings and picked them off like they were nothing. You know, a lot of the dinosaurs, or what people say that were living with man, would have easily had us for lunch every single day, right? There would have been no way for mankind to survive in that type of environment with all the dangerous things besides dinosaurs, the insects, the mammals, the large mammals, and so on, in the plants that existed back then. It would have been very, very difficult for mankind to survive and thrive and build megaliths all while dinosaurs are flying around and walking around, right? So this is in Utah. I believe that this is in Utah from what I gathered from the beginning of the video. So there are things out there, folks, that we don't know, and we may never know until we're no longer here. But this just goes to show what a lot of people are teaching about the earth only being 6,000 years old. Obviously does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it doesn't make any sense to a lot of other people who are not Christians. And you know, that's why a lot of people turn away from Jesus Christ in the Bible, because when you say the earth is only 6,000 years old, and yet you can't find any evidence to suggest that 99.9% of all species that have ever existed were here with mankind. Some of the most dangerous creatures. And you got to remember, the flood dealt with water, right? So what about all the aquatic dinosaurs and all the aquatic mammals and all the aquatic species that would have been in the water during those time periods, right? They just didn't suddenly just disappear, right? So it would have taken a long time for those species to go extinct. So I do believe that this was some type of quarry, that they were taking these blocks and maybe moving them somewhere else. Folks, there's pyramids in the United States. Whether they were done by humans, but there are things that they are not telling us. And then when you see things like when they found, like on Google Earth, when they found like pyramids and whole cities that are underwater, right? And this was off the coast of Cuba, right? So you have to really think about what was actually taking place before the flood. I think for me the most compelling evidence is the archaeologists that were trying to prove the Bible between 1890 and 1930, and they were reporting, you know, the findings of giant bones and giant humans, and that may have been very well what was, you know, some type of humanoid that was here on the earth, you know, and I think a lot of us will never ever know unless the government just reveals all these things. But they've kept a lot of these things hidden for their own purposes and their own agenda, and it's one of those things that is really sad, because this earth is rich in history that proves the Bible. There's archaeological discoveries that happen all the time that prove the Bible. But when we go back to the ancient past, you know, they don't want to admit what actually took place in the ancient past. They don't want to admit what was happening all around the world. There was a civilization that were building these massive pyramids, bigger than the ones that still exist today. And they don't want to share that with us. And there's a reason why for that. Now, it could be God is holding these things back, or it could be them, you know, trying to suppress this information. It doesn't affect salvation and what's going to take place in the future, but These are some of the things that I have studied over the years, and that which some of these things have to where I could draw the conclusion that the Earth is not 6,000 years old. And to suggest that 99.9% of all extinct species only lived for 1,500 years doesn't make any sense. The pre-Sumerians, right? Go do your research. The pre-Sumerians, they didn't build statues of dinosaurs. They built statues of what you see here, like these lizard-like creatures, which some people say, including myself, this could have been the serpent in the garden, right? Because the pre-Sumerians would have came from Adam and Eve. When people say that the dinosaurs were here walking around with mankind, I don't believe that at all whatsoever. I do believe that some animals made it through, especially aquatic animals that may have made it through the flood and everything else. But when you look at all the different eras of the earth, and people always refer to these little handful of dinosaurs. When you ask people, name some dinosaurs, they can only name a few because those are the ones that have always been put in movies. Those are the ones that are always taught in class. But if you look at the millions of species that would have been here before the dinosaurs, during the dinosaurs, and after the dinosaur period, right? We're not just talking about dinosaurs, we're talking about mammals, right? What about all the mammals that lived before, during, and after the dinosaur age, right? Nobody wants to talk about those. And not only that, during excavations, during the archaeological boom all around the world between 1890 and the 1930s, most of the archaeologists were trying to confirm what the Bible was saying. A lot of them were Christians trying to prove the Bible. But that would have been the time. Remember, during that time period, they were discovering giant bones all around the world, right? And the news media was reporting these, right? And they weren't the dinosaurs, they're talking about human beings, human-like beings, right? So that would have been the time period that anything that was found would have been put in writing, and we would know that today if there were human remains buried with these animals, right? Because especially when you go back, you look at like the pre-Sumerians before the flood, there's no record of dinosaurs. So, people can show me videos of, the people who believe the earth has only been here for 6,000 years. You have to go back and you have to look at archaeology. You have to look back during that time period when it would have been okay to publish things like that. As far as, we found a pterodactyl buried with a pre-Sumerian, or baby dinosaurs or baby dinosaur eggs. None of that was ever found in pre-Sumeria or at any of the ancient sites all around the world during that time period, and it would have been discovered then. Anyways, folks, that is all that I have for this today. The link to that video will be down below in the description. I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.